10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Wake that ass up! Good morning. 20 minutes past the hour. It's the Beat Break Morning Show, the Beat Break Podcast. You're now rocking with the best. I am the architect, Sean Garvey. Make sure you follow us on all your social media at Beat Break Radio, Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. Got a power pack show for you this morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a movie, an epic show. My co-host DJ Rollum is on staycation as we speak. He's getting ready to celebrate Father's Day. Shout out to all the fathers out there that are getting ready to celebrate Father's Day, all right? You are tuned in live to the Beat Break Morning Show. Sean Garvey, DJ Rollum, and the Wake Up Squad. Check us out on beatbreakradiofm.com 24/7. And don't forget to download the Podcast FM app to your smartphone and or your mobile device. Get that right now. Shout out to blackvibes.com for hooking us up with the app, ladies and gentlemen. Podcast FM app. Get that to your Android and your iPhone. All right. We got a lot of great stuff getting ready to happen on the Beat Break Morning Show. Top of the hour. We got the news and the 411 Wire with Just a Touch of J. A little bit later on the program. Plus, you may be a racist and you don't even know it, by Jeff, aka Mr. Moody, coming up later on the show. And of course, we got a throwback in just a few moments right here on the Beat Break Morning Show, the Beat Break Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. So, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, with no delaying, very epic show for you all this morning. This is like almost 20 years in the making, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to go ahead and just get right into it. 19 years of age. I was 19, struggling college student, stumbled upon a community radio station here in Atlanta. And I never heard of this station before. And I was on the left side of the dial. I'm so used to listening to terrestrial radio all the time. And I came across these two gentlemen on the radio station. They were playing a lot of uncensored boom bap hip hop music, a little bit of R&B in between. And I was like, what is this? Like, what is going on here? I got to be a part of this movement. So lately, there has been a lot of reunions going on. There's been a lot of TV show reunions like Friends and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and so forth and so forth. But there has never, ever, ever been a radio reunion, or at least in the Atlanta market, until now. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, right here, first time ever on the Beat Break Morning Show, the Beat Break Podcast, I decided to reconnect with these great people. I mean, these are the people that are responsible for getting me to where I am at this very day. It's going to be a lot of crying, a lot of laughing, a lot of great times and all the great stuff, ladies and gentlemen. But let's go ahead and get right into it. Casual Conversations, DJ DCas and DJ Yogi.
Hold on.
On the live line for the very first time right here on the Beat Break Morning Show. Fellas, what's going on?
What's going on, man?
Yes, sir. Man, it's good to hear from you guys. How you been? You all have not aged at all.
Tell that to my chin.
Yeah. Well, what's good? DJ DCas, man, it's been years since I've seen you. We're not going to only just make this about me. We're going to make this about everybody. And I want to bring one other person on who has been a very game changer, not only to the show, but to the station as well. DJ DCas, you recently celebrated a birthday, by the way. Every day's a birthday. How was your birthday?
I think if we did 21 about 10 times, 10, 11 times. I started that when I was 31. So
you are 31 years young.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm the proud age of 47 years old.
Wow,
so,
you better go deep.
Yeah, you know, and look, a lot of people didn't make it to 47. So you know, I don't have a problem telling my age. You know what I mean? And you know, there are people that couldn't get to that age. So I think I've lived a great life thus far, and want to continue to do so. So yeah, I'm 47 years young.
Yes.
47. Got to give a hand clap for that. Got to give another hand clap for that. And good. I know you did it big on your birthday, by the way.
Honestly, I really didn't. I think I just celebrated time with my family. Oddly enough, my son is his birthday is like 3 or 4 days before mine, 5 days before mine, and so because his fell during the week, we actually end up celebrating his birthday on my birthday. So yeah, so I mean, but it's all good. I mean, it was we had a great time, just doing family stuff, man.
Yeah. And DJ Yogi in the building. DJ Yogi, man.
What's up, man?
Also has not aged as well. You look the same since I met you almost 20 years ago, too. You're doing big things, of course. People can check you out on the Remix Show on 89.3 WRFG as well. But I know life has been paradise for you as well.
Yeah, it's been great, man. No complaints. The biggest thing that happened to me recently, I completed this documentary that I've been working on for the past 2 years. That's on HBO Max. So that's like the biggest thing. Yeah. So I guess we'll get into all that later. So
I love being around people that are modest and humble. Like, I'm doing HBO. I'm over there with Issa Rae. I'm doing, but hey, we talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. If you ask, I'll tell you.
All right. Last but not least, I thought it would be fair to save the best for last, ladies and gentlemen. And we got a story. We got a story about this woman, this great woman who has brought a lot of energy, brought a lot of great things to the show and to the station, WRFG 89.3 FM. And she still holds it down at WRFG 89.3 FM, the show ATL. She's big in the market. She does her thing on the microphone, in venues. She's a poet. She is an activist. She's a radio personality. Hell, she's an entrepreneur, damn it. She does everything. Miss Dia.
Hey, fellas, I miss y'all so much.
What's going on?
Hey, we miss you too. We miss you too. Life is good. Life is good.
Yes, definitely. Cannot complain. Happy to be here. Thank you, Brotha Rashawn, for bringing us all together. It's so important that we do things like this. So thank you for doing this. And I'm just happy to see y'all. Like, oh my God, I just want to pinch y'all cheeks.
I told y'all we haven't aged. We haven't aged. But you got the show ATL. I know we're gonna talk a little bit towards the end about that with you and Hollywood Kid on 89.3 FM. And how long have you been doing the show so far, the show ATL?
Since we just continued on once everybody left. So, this has been now about a good 14, 15 years now. About a good 14, 15.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, good, man. So I don't want to make this show about me. We taking it back all the way back to the basics. We can ask each other questions. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of laughter. Even that time, it's going to be some Kleenex. I'm gonna just be honest with you. It's going to be some tears dropping. But I'm gonna go to DCas because this is the gentleman who put me on, and we'll get into that in just a few moments. But WRFG 89.3 FM has always been a staple in the community in Atlanta. And people from all across the globe, I don't want to just limit it to just the States, but people from all over the globe, London, Japan, Tokyo, doesn't matter. Tune into WRFG for its eclectic music format, talk format. But I don't think a lot of people, DJ DCas, just to be transparent with you, I don't think a lot of people know the history behind WRFG. But explain to us what WRFG is and what it has become.
Oh, well, from my perspective, so let me say this. It's funny because when you started talking about this, you said that you was on the left side of the dial and just happened to hear music or whatever. And oddly enough, before I actually moved to Atlanta, I actually drove through Atlanta one time, and I just so happened to be on that end of the dial. And I listened. It was like I think it was like 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock or something like that. And I was like, yo, they rocking. And this is literally, I was just driving through Atlanta. I think I was going back to Athens or something. And so the funny thing is, I couldn't remember the station that I was listening to when I came back to Atlanta. So it was real interesting because I was listening to other stations. Like, yeah, this is not the right format that I was listening to before. But it was because at the time, this is all before social media and and you could Google everything in the world. And so when I actually finally moved to Atlanta in '99, it was like, okay, I gotta find that station because I've always wanted, the crazy thing is I always wanted to be in radio, but I didn't know how to get in radio. I did some things at my college station, but I went to Guitar Center one day, and it was, I can't remember the girl's name, but she was with another station and one commercial station. I said, hey, I really want to get into radio. Is there anything you can, any advice you can give me? And she was like, hey, go check out WRFG or whatever. So, I went, figured out, I may have had to look it up in the yellow pages. I don't know. But I did. I found their address, and I come to find out they were, looking for, new people to do new shows and volunteers and all that. And I really didn't understand that format. So I'm like, so you mean I can walk right in and get a show? But once I learned a bit more about what they did, you're right and said it's a very eclectic station. So you get anything from blues to underground hip hop to some commercial hip hop to jazz, folk, a lot of talk radio. I mean, it's everywhere, and it's very progressive. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at the things that we listen to, as much as stuff is today and how in your face it was, WRFG was doing that a long time ago. What I mean? It's been doing that. So just a quick history on how I got into the station. You had to go through this little small volunteer program, and if it wasn't guaranteed you were in a show, but if after it qualified you for a show if one became available. Well, oddly enough, once I finished the volunteer program, I ended up, there happened to be a show available. I wanted to do a hip hop show. They said, yeah, all hip hop shows are on 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what morning? So I was like, okay. And mind you, I had a 9 to 5 at the time, and I was still DJing and all that type of stuff. So I had a 9 to 5. So I was like, damn, I don't know how I'm gonna be able to do that. But I was like, you know what? Let me figure it out or whatever. This is what I really want to do. Now, here's the other thing I didn't realize, that you were doing this and you weren't getting paid. Okay, so you're not going to get paid ever. Okay, ever. So you have to have the love for what you're doing. What I mean? And so I got that opportunity. And here's the craziest thing. The first day they gave me the show, I said, okay, cool. I did not know like how to really format a show. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, I got to be on the air for like 3 or 4 hours, whatever. It was like 2 to 6, right? So I had to be on the air for 4 hours. I literally went to Tower Records and bought CDs, and I put the songs in order, and I wrote down how long each song was to make sure I filled up the time for 4 hours worth of music.
Yeah.
Right. Like that, I literally did that for like the first, I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks of the show. Then I ran into I don't know if y'all remember Iros. I ran into Iros.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
He popped in the show one day because I was doing the show by myself. He popped in the show one day. Hey, just coming in and checking on you. I was like, yeah. He said, what's that? He was like, I was like, yo, that's my playlist. So just make sure that I get through that show. He's like, yeah, that's stupid. So that made me think. I'm like, okay, I'm doing this all wrong, right? So I wasn't DJing at the time. I wasn't DJing on the show at the time, but because it was, it's really, really difficult to do that and run the boards too, or whatever. So fast forward a couple of weeks, I'm in what was it? Earwax. I'm in Earwax.
Yeah, we were in Earwax.
I run into this guy or whatever. He's DJing too, because keep in mind, Saturday mornings in Atlanta, everybody, all the DJs were at Erex getting music. Everybody. You know what I'm saying? Because they needed music for their parties that night. So I ended up running into Yogi. We ended up talking or whatever. Now I'm new to Atlanta, so I don't really know a lot of people or whatever at the time. So, we ended up talking. I said, hey, I got this show. And why don't you come and DJ on the show for me? Not that I couldn't DJ, but it was just hard for me to do both. You know what I'm saying? So he said, okay. So I think, I don't know, maybe it was a week later or whatever. And I'm blowing him up because I told him what time it was. I'm like, he ain't gonna show up. He ain't gonna show up. Like I'm blowing up. I'm calling, leaving messages. I'm doing everything or whatever. And he's like, man, I'm at work. I'm like, okay. I just want to make sure you're gonna come to the show. Like, and at the time, I didn't know where he worked. He was working still working at Turner or whatever. I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like literally bothering the hell out of him because I didn't think he was going to show up. Right? This is 2:00 in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So all of that being said, he shows up. We do the show, and we just started developing a good chemistry on how he DJs. I was loving the way he was DJing. I was like, yo, this is how I want. I want a good DJ. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily want a popular DJ because I always felt like all popular DJs doesn't mean that they're good. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted a really, really good DJ. And I wanted to do my spin on it because I was going to DJ part of it too, but I wanted him to do most of the show or whatever. So I wanted to, and then the last hour we would do what we call a conversation.
Conversation piece.
Conversation.
Yes.
Popping.
Right. So and we would talk about everything. I mean, a lot of it was relationship stuff or whatever, but we would talk about everything. And then that became the pinnacle of the show was the conversation piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, so we did that and we just started really to gain a lot of traction as much as you could at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
you remember, you speaking about segments, you remember it's time to shine. Right. So it's funny you say that because I think that we did a lot of stuff, and much like the remix too, but we did a lot of segments as if we were on commercial radio. Yeah.
Created stuff, and that's what I wanted to do because eventually I wanted to be in commercial radio, and which I did after I left, but I wanted to treat it, like we were in commercial radio.
Explain Time to Shine for the folks who don't know. So, let me tell them real quick. So, Time to Shine,
I'll let you
we would take 2 new songs, basically like, dig it or ditch it or whatever, all that kind of stuff. We take 2 songs, play it, and have the folks call in and say which ones they like. Sometimes we would take 2 current artists, 2 songs that we like, and let the artist pick it. But we would have it was the silliest jingle before the segment. Actually, was listening to the tapes. It was pretty funky, man. Yeah. It was fun. I can't even say my apologies for saying it was. It was fun. Like listening to the tapes, I was like, man, we were having a blast at 2 in the morning. You couldn't tell it was 2 in the morning.
Like people had to realize we were doing all of this while the majority of people were asleep.
Yeah.
So trying to get people to listen at that time. You either gonna get people coming from the club on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna get people overnight shifters that are working at FedEx or UPS or something like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or people that just happen to be driving through the city at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, so I wanted to treat it like we were like it was the morning show. I wanted to treat it like we were, on the morning show at 8 a.m. For our hours. You know what I mean? I didn't care. I mean, I cared because I was tired sometimes, but so anyway, so that's how we came about. Now, I'm not quite sure if Miss Dia came in next, didn't she?
After.
She came in later. She came on later. And there's a story, but I wanna piggyback on something you just said, Cass, because that's the vibe that I got when I came on later on Casual Conversations. I got that morning show vibe, right? And then fast forward to now looking back, you and DJ Cass and DJ Yogi, you all were like that Stretch and Bobbito of Atlanta.
Wow.
I don't know if anybody has told you that, but you two were like the Stretch and Barbito of Atlanta. For those that don't know, Stretch and Barbito, they were real known on the community radio market in New York, and then they went over to Hot, but they broke a lot of artists, like artists that you thought you would have not seen on a mainstream level until now, because they were known for bringing artists in, doing freestyles and things of that sort. But that's what I saw you guys looking back at it. Like, what do you think? Were you all considered as like the Stretch and Barbito of Atlanta, or maybe like who else? Ed Lover, Dr. Dre. Like, did you all think you all were going to be like the next?
I don't know if I would consider us that, because those are some big names. So I'm not going to even put myself in that same category. If other people do it, then that's fine. But I think we were just doing us and trying to find our way through this musical landscape of Atlanta at the time. And here's the craziest thing. One of the funniest things, and I don't know if you guys realize this. Yogi may or may not remember this, but I think I was the very first person to play Chris Brown on the radio.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Right.
My tongue. Chris Brown and B.O.B.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And somebody had sent us the CD, and it wasn't even a printed CD. It was one of them burnt CDs or whatever, and they had wrote Chris Brown on it. I'm like, okay, who is this cat? Yeah. Or whatever. So I was the first. I think, and I said we were the first ones to play Chris Brown. It was "Run It," the song "Run It."
Run It. Yeah,
the first ones to play that.
Came out on a regular old disc. Yeah, I remember that. And B.O.B. Wow. I remember they sent B.O.B. to us, and I was like, "Who's this cat?" We put it on. He's like, "Yo, this cat's kind of funky." So
right. Sure.
Wow.
A lot of other stuff that we played too, but those were the two that I remember as well.
Wow. Miss Dia, I'm coming to you. I gotta come to you.
This is so fun. I'm fine. I'm enjoying it.
You coming into a station that is known for not only its eclectic format and playlist, but has a lot of rich history. I mean, we're talking about the same station that people like Lil Jon and Empress Cersei started out at and went on to do bigger things, of course, in their careers. But I'm gonna let you tell the story. I know the story, but I'm gonna let you tell the story. It all started in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Go.
Yeah. So my freshman year in college, I didn't want to go back home for the summer. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay up here. I'm gonna take a few classes, and a couple of my friends, they were doing a radio show on our campus station. And I was like, okay, well, I'm, start going down there and stuff like that. And then a spot ended up opening up and they needed someone for the summer. So I was like, okay, I'm really gonna stay. So I started doing a show down there. It was called The Hot Spot. This was like kind of right after Foxy came out with that song. And you can tell me I wasn't Foxy's sister. So the show was called The Hot Spot. It was in Kalamazoo. At that time, they had no hip hop shows on air. Like, I think one of the commercial stations had a show on Saturday, but other than that, our campus station was like the only place from Kalamazoo to, we reached, pretty far as well, like almost up to Battle Creek. Like, we were the only station playing hip hop. So our college station, like at the time, I didn't understand it. I wish I did. I didn't really understand just what that meant, what we were doing until like right before we moved, and I was trying to come up with, my car note and all that stuff. I was like, man, like we got a lot of people depending on us. We could have been doing, a little bit more, but it was a great experience. So when I got down here, my first night in Atlanta, I have a poem that I wrote. And before I wrote it, I had said a prayer that, like, I don't know if I've ever prayed. Only time I probably ever prayed that hard was when one of my family members was about to pass or in the hospital or something like that. But I was praying. I'm like, look, Lord, like, put some poets in my life. put some people that's in radio that's gonna play. I mean, I was real specific too. I'm like, that's gonna play, Talib Kweli and Most Def and independent artists and all this stuff. Like my intent in that prayer was like for real, like, because I'm just down, moving to Atlanta. I knew maybe about 4 or 5 people, but I'm from Detroit. So coming all the way from Detroit down here, like I prayed hard, like that he put the right people and stuff in my life. And I just so happened, well, before I met you, Brother Rashawn, I had every person that I ran into that I mentioned to them, like, I did radio. They all kept on, after talking to me for a couple seconds, they like, oh yeah, you need to be down at RFG. It wasn't like oh yeah, you should check it out. They're like, you need to be down at 89.3. So when I met you, we were at a spoken word event, and I remember which one?
Cafe 290.
Cafe 290. And I had a poem called Sick and Tired. And it's so funny because one of the in the poem I talk about how I'm sick and tired of the radio playing weak music and whack this and all this stuff. And afterwards, I think Last Forever introduced us, or either you just came and introduced yourself. But however, Brother Sean invited me to come on down with you guys. Thank you so much, Brother Sean, for doing that, because you didn't have to. But he invited me to come on down, and like, honest to God, the first day I came down there, I was like, oh, these niggas stuck with me. Like, they can't forget about it. Like, I don't know, I'm gonna have to warm up to them, and they go, but y'all were stuck with me because y'all were exactly, and actually a little bit more, you know what I'm saying, than what I prayed for. Like, I was praying for y'all, like. So to meet y'all and to see it, you know what I'm saying, y'all already had it going. My whole thing was just trying to figure out, like, okay, what can I do? You know what I'm saying? What can I do? What can I add? And try to stay in my place as much as I can. But yeah, it's been awesome, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that y'all did open up, you know what I'm saying, the door to me and stuff down here. I appreciate y'all. Like, y'all are forever my brothers. And like, whatever y'all ever need, just always know y'all can call me. Period.
Kaz and Yogi, and I know you have stories, Kaz and Yogi, about, because before Miss Dia, we did a tryout of different female co-hosts. Like, it was supposed to be just you, DJ DCas, and DJ Yogi, and before I came along, and then I came along, right, and then we were doing tryouts for women co-hosts, and none of them didn't work out.
Yeah.
I don't think we were. I don't think we were doing trial for just women. We were doing. So here's the challenge. I mean, we always wanted to have a female, because we especially with the conversation pieces, we were always talking about relationships, but we were talking about from a man's perspective. You know what I'm saying? We never really had a female's perspective unless somebody called in.
Right.
But here's the deal. Like, and one of my things was, again, I told you I always wanted to treat us as if we were on commercial radio, but the hardest thing to do is, number one, to get somebody to be there from 2 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the morning.
Amen to that.
It's a hard thing to do. So,
yeah.
Everybody want to do it until they actually got to get up in the morning and do it. You know what I'm saying? And so, and I want to tell this story real quick too about you, brother. Well, your name's Sean Garvey now, but
it's Brotha Rashawn tonight. But
one of the reasons why. I think Rashawn called in and asked could he come up or something like that, or whatever. And I was like, look, he's like, if he want to, I mean, just us up in here or whatever. So, lo and behold, he shows up one night or whatever, and he stays the whole time. And I was like, okay, because usually, and we've had this, people get tired, they in the back, they dozing off and all that. They just like, yeah, I'm all right. I'm not gonna come back no more. And it's not that the show is good; it's just a hard time slot. You know what I mean? And so when Rashawn came back the following week, I looked at Yogi, like, oh snap, he came back, right? and he kept coming back. So I was like, and again, and Rashawn, and I don't want nobody to take this any kind of way, but Rashawn was very young at the time or whatever, and he was not as polished as he is now. You know what I'm saying? So when he came in, you know, and you know, people are, oh well, we need to find somebody. I said, he shows up. That's the big hurdle.
That was huge.
Yogi that, didn't
Yeah, that was huge. That's what I liked about him the most. He kept showing up, and I was like, hey, he keeps showing up. Keep putting them on. I like that. I like that a lot.
That was the biggest thing that mattered to me. Was you showed up, and I was like, yo, he really wants to do this. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, let's just guide him. Let's help him. Because the reality that we were learning too. You know what I'm saying? We had been there a couple years, but we were still learning because, you know, with WRFG, they give you the time slot and they don't really put too many restrictions or don't give you that much guidance on, because, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying they give it to you and you make it what you want to make it, you know, but there's no real guidance and guidelines, you know, other than the, you know, the legalities about it that you got to stick with. Yeah. So we were still learning. And, you know, one thing that I learned is that you got to be there. like that's the biggest thing. You got to be there. There was no recording from home back then. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? There was no Zoom back then where, we just going to punch them in. There was none of that. You literally had to get up and come down to the station.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I thought it was dope too. I didn't figure that out until like after your 10th time there, and like you didn't drive, so you used to have somebody drop you off. Like I think it was like your parents or something like that used to drop you off, and I used to be like, "Yo,
right,
this is crazy."
I'm glad that you brought that up. So here's the rest of the backstory. So, mind you guys, I'm 19. I'm a struggling college student, right? It was, I want to say, my freshman year going into my sophomore year in college. Yeah. And the college I went to, they didn't really have a workshop or a department on mass communications. And I knew that it was going to be hard for me to get into a major radio station, or at least that's what I learned or I've been told. So I thought the easy access for me to get inside of an actual radio station was like a WRFG, because like you said, DJ DCas, a few moments ago, WRFG is that cornerstone, is that platform for you to come in and for you to learn the basics, because that's what they want to teach you on, is the basics before moving forward. So here's the rest of the backstory. So the following week, my mother, and I never told this story until now. My mother, she's bad with directions, because this was at the time when I didn't have a car. I didn't have a car to my name. My mother dropped me off at a bus stop across from 5 Points late at night after 12 a.m. I was so glad I didn't get jacked. This was after 12 a.m. because I knew I had to be there 30 minutes before 2, because that's when the show started at 2 a.m. So my mother she's not familiar with the little 5 Points community, right? So she dropped me off at the bus stop. I waited for the last bus to come, and the last bus did come to scoop me up. I went to the radio station, got off the bus, walked straight to the radio station, which used to be an old schoolhouse. And it had the sign up saying WRFG 89.3 FM. So I knew I was in the right area. The first person that came to the door, and this wasn't DJ DCas or DJ Yogi, because they came later on. It was Brotha Rashawn.
Oh yeah.
It was
Akhenaten. You were early.
I was real early because I wanted to show how dedicated I was, and I figured like, okay, this is something that I always wanted to do. Yeah. And Brotha Rashawn, he had this strange look on his face, like, who are you, Nero? Like,
there's a reason for that.
I was like, I'm here for DCas and DJ Yogi. But he opened up the door and he let me in. And something, another important thing that DJ DCas brought up was that I wasn't polished, because I didn't have a radio background, but it was something I knew that I wanted to do. I thought that getting into radio and becoming a radio broadcaster was the easiest job in the world. Like, I grew up watching Arnell Starr and Chris Thomas and all the players from Rap City and MTV, MTV Raps. I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be a VJ. I wanted to host and interview artists and stuff, right? But going in, I thought it was easy, but it wasn't.
Oh no!
And when that mic is on,
Rashawn, read the news.
You gotta be on your P's and Q's. And then, look, I will say this: I wasn't a walking dictionary.
I love it.
I wasn't.
That was the most fun. When Sean read the news, that was the most fun I've ever had on that show. He would mess up a word that you didn't even realize that it's a word. I'm like, what did you just say? But it was cool. But let me say this. Let me say this, Rashawn. What you showed was dedication and the want and the need for doing something that you love to do. Yeah. And I'm gonna be honest. It's funny that you say that right now because I own a production company, right? So we do. I got guys. Oh man, I want to do we produce concerts, festivals, all that type of stuff. All the pretty stuff that you guys see. We do all of that, but there's work behind it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There's dedication behind it. There's a lot of time and effort spent to it. So when I'm getting new guys to come in and they like, oh yeah, I want to do this. Oh, put me down. I love music, blah, blah, blah. But when they got to lift the speaker and take it, 100 yards somewhere, they don't have that same type of dedication anymore. And I notice that nowadays in this, and I don't know if, and you guys can speak to this or maybe you can't, but is that, do the younger generation, I say, the 20-ish, do they still have that type of dedication?
It just depends. I'm asking Rashawn. I think it just depends on the person. I don't think it has any generation.
But think about it. Think about it. And I don't know who's on WRFG now, but we did it for free for years.
Not RFG, but other places.
But would there be would people still do that now? Because everybody out here has been there for years. That's because they still love it. You know what I'm saying? You got to still love it to continue to do it. But I don't think they could do it. I don't think a newer generation could do that for free for that amount of time.
I think that they would do it if it's one presented to them in a way that makes sense for them. But I do think that, their focus has shifted to something that's more visual, you know what I'm saying? Like just quick TikToks and things like that, but they're still putting in a lot of work with that. Like I was just watching like a show that was talking about I didn't even know about them. It's like a group of young people that have a house here in Atlanta and all they do is TikTok stuff pretty much.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, it's like a crew of them and that's their thing. Like that's how they pay their bills and all that stuff. So I think that they, we need to make sure that we're exposing some of them to it because we need this thing to continue on, So I think if we take a little time to make sure that they understand what it is, we could get some on board. But I do believe that they shifted their focus to more of the platforms and stuff now instead of actually producing stuff.
Is it more instant fame or instant gratification or instant success?
I think that got a little bit. Yeah, I think that definitely has something to do with it. Because the thing is with like an RFG, even if you're not getting paid for RFG, if you're in the entertainment industry, like it makes sense for you. That's what for me, like it bothered me a little bit that we were up there, but I knew all of the other things that I was doing. And although, we couldn't promote and stuff like that, I just knew it made sense. Like I love to do radio and to be able to do it at the same time, promote events and, some of the people that I was meeting at events. So right now I have a radio show that y'all can come down to and get your music played on. So it just all makes sense. So I think if we start making sure that people understand just how it works and how it can benefit them, then, I think they'd be down.
Let me say this to Cass' point. I think it is definitely instant famous. And let me say this. Ludacris. Before Ludacris, it was Chris Lover and Poon Daddy. And there was the show called Future Flavors on, at the time, Hot 97.5 before it went over to Hot 107.9. And Ludacris said this in a few interviews that he only used the radio station as an opportunity to be a rapper, right? So you have people that use a platform like a radio station to get that instant gratification or to become the next person, to become this, to become that. But for me, I use myself, Sean Garvey, aka Brotha Rashawn, as an example. I just wanted to get into radio to learn as much as I could to get to the point where I could see myself doing this 5 days a week. I tell people that I come from the old school part of radio, because back then at WRFG, you didn't have the advanced technology that you have now. Because remember back in the day, Cash, Yogi, and Dia, we had the knobs. We had to turn the knobs. We used that audio mixer board to turn the knobs and what have you. We didn't have the digital board. And I was like, what? And there were times where I was like, why are we not up to date with some of the stuff that we had? But looking back at it, because you get that nostalgic feeling of being in an environment like a WRFG, you have to learn the basics before moving forward, because this is where radio started. This is like the early ages, the early years of radio. And so I'm just glad that I came from the school of WRFG to learn the earlier ages and the earlier years of what radio was at the time. Because now, with the platforms that we have, internet radio, online podcasts and stuff, like if this thing happened 20 years ago or when I first got into the game, I probably would have not went into the direction of a community radio station. Like, why go into radio, Sean, when you could go on the internet and become instant famous the next week or what have you? But I think it's just the mindset. It's just the mindset of, wanting to learn about the formatics of radio and learning the history behind it, as opposed to, jumping on this new wave that everybody else is on.
Let me ask you this. Is radio dying?
Is that to the group or to everybody?
That's
Hey.
That's just,
Well, I mean, everything is, you know how it is, man. Just the attention spans of everything right now has just gone down. So like, radio, just like every other medium, television and film and all that stuff, is just competing against each other. You got podcasts like this, you hear rappers talking about it now. A lot of these rappers who got podcasts, they're like, people listen to my podcast before they actually listen to the new album that I dropped. Talib Kweli says that a lot on his People's Party podcast. He says that all the time. And that's just what it is. It's like people's consumption of media has just changed. And it's not that radio's dying. It's just, you just got to get people's attention. You got to figure out how. So there's so much out there now.
But here's a question for you then. And I think I know the answer to this, but even for you, Brotha Rashawn, but Yogi, do you listen to radio?
Yeah, I listen to a lot of sports radio. And then and then I listen to a lot of sports radio. Like when I'm not listening to the certain hip hop shows I like to listen to, a lot of sports radio. So I do listen to radio, but
I do as well.
Yeah,
I still listen to a lot of radio.
Yeah, I still listen to radio, but the kind of radio that I still listen to is talk radio, which WRFG has been known for. And I'm always going to continue to go back to WRFG because WRFG is the foundation. But I think at the age that you get and the older that you get, you start to have a different taste for what type of radio programming you want to listen to. Because, in my younger years, it was just more hip hop, R&B stations for me. Now I'm older. I'm in need of information. I am in need of food. I am in need of hearing people's perspectives and stuff. I do a podcast, and most podcasts that I do or listen to is all talk. but to your question, because you brought up a fair question, is radio dying? Do you think radio is dying? I think, well, let me say this. AM radio is dead. AM radio is definitely dead. I've been in AM radio markets before, and AM radio is definitely not the same. AM radio is not dead. I don't think radio is going to die because you still need that kind of platform for information like traffic, news, and things of that sort, like a WSB here in Atlanta. But radio is not going to go back to how it was. I think that radio, well, put it to you like this, Cass. Someone said to me that podcast is now the terrestrial FM radio.
Pretty much.
Podcast is the new terrestrial FM.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I think it's like this. I look at radio as being the mall. The you know, who goes to the mall anymore? It still exists.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're kind of right. I mean,
It still exists, but you know, who goes to the mall anymore because they can get probably 95% of stuff at the mall online.
Yeah, and
I
cheaper.
mean,
Well, see, this is the thing though. Now we have to think about though how many different groups of people are out here. And yes, we shop we shop online, but there are a number of people that still don't trust putting their card online, using their card, you know what I'm saying? So there's still a lot of people that go into these stores and go into the malls and stuff like that, and still a lot of people that listen to radio because they don't have, you know, they don't have satellite radio and or they don't plug their phones into the radio, you know. So it's still gonna always be that group of people. Now, is it the same amount of people as it was when we were, you know what I'm saying, coming up? No, but we still got to know that it's still a huge group of people that's dependent on all of those things.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, Rashawn, I wanted to say something to the whole crew. I don't know where we would fit, but like, so the time when I met Kaz to kind of do the show, back in like early 2000s or whatever. And I've said it to a lot of people. The remix show has done this for me as well, but the time when I met Kaz was like literally kind of was like a prayer. Like I didn't say out loud, but I needed that. At that point in my life, I needed to be on the radio. I did a lot of radio in Miami, a lot of underground radio from like 95, and then I did 88.5 WRFG in Atlanta. And when I met Kaz, I was kind of going through some stuff, like just missed DJing. I was trying to like get my career, my 9 to 5 together, but I just missed DJing. And when I met Kaz, it was like perfect timing, man. And like that I say it a lot. It saved me in a way. It saved my creative spirit, like meeting up with Kaz when he was like, yeah, oh yeah, no doubt. I felt like I kept asking him, I can play whatever I want. He was like, yeah, play whatever you want. I was like, can I play whatever I want? He's like, yeah, you can play whatever you want. I was like, I think I asked him like, can I play whatever I want? He's like, yeah, man, just play whatever. I was like, all right, I'm gonna be there, you know. That's always been like, ever since I was a kid, it's always been something that I loved about radio is you turn it on and you never know, especially when it's a mixed show format, you never know what the DJ's gonna play. And that's always been like, especially when you're in your car and you riding, and all of a sudden I'd be like, oh snap, they playing this on the radio? You know what I'm saying? Like on FM? Oh, they playing the B-side of Jay-Z, or they playing this? Like it's all, and it's still, that's why I'm still on the radio now, because I know there's always that, you know, collective of people who turn on the radio and they're like, yo, what's this? Oh, snap. And then all of a sudden they'll be in their car like an hour and a half, be like, yo, man, I got to the crib, and I couldn't get out the car because whoever was DJing was rocking. And that's always been, it's still, that's what makes me still want to DJ. And especially like when every once in a while I'll get the message from somebody like back then where people be like, yo, you guys are rocking, even though it was late at night. Or so now when I'm doing a remix show and then people, you know, they'll either call when we're there, or like I'll get a DM since we've been pre-recording because of COVID, and somebody be like, yo, I listened to that show. I only wanted to listen to an hour. I listened to all 3 hours. It's freaking bananas. And so
let me say this to you guys, man. Yogi is a dope DJ. Okay,
Crazy.
I say
No
that.
question. No question.
I love DJs. I'm a DJ. I love DJs, but Yogi is a dope DJ, and I love the way he plays and I'm talking from a DJ perspective, but I love the way he plays and his technical ability. And I can swear to God, I can listen. I could drive down, and when I listen to the radio, I know that's him without him even saying something. If I know it's him. And like I've been in the car with somebody or whatever, and I've turned it on, and it maybe 2 songs in, that's Yogi spinning right there. I knew how he connected music. I knew his technical ability with the music. I knew how his cuts and scratches would go together. You know what I'm saying? Occasionally he'll be juggle a little bit or whatever. I mean, I knew because even though I'm sitting there working and I'm still a fan. I'm still a fan of this creative art that we call DJ.
Yeah, we all are, yeah.
So yeah, but I just wanted to. I think that was like one of the best decisions I ever made to have him a part of part of the show, and that for me, that gave me life because it released me from that pressure of trying to write down my CD links for the whole show.
And just to let folks know, this was pre-Serato.
Right. We were bringing records in there. We were bringing
4 crates, 3-4 crates a night.
In the middle of 2 o'clock in the morning, we had crates of records in there every week.
Yeah.
But you know what? Y'all complimented each other so well.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all complimented each other so well. And I think for me, I'm telling y'all just don't know. I was so blown away because, before I met y'all, I said that same prayer about poets. And the first couple poets I met when I moved down here was Abyss, Georgia Me. I met Hazik, all of them in like the first 1 or 2 times I came down here. And then when I met y'all and seeing like how y'all DJ'd and stuff was just like, are y'all kidding me? Like, I wanted, because I was just really getting introduced to, kind of like yo Immortal Technique, Quality and all that stuff. Like I was familiar with them, but I wasn't listening to them like that. Like when I was doing our show on campus, I was playing popular artists, but I was playing B-side songs or the songs off the album that I thought, should have been a singles and stuff. So I wasn't familiar with a lot of the artists and stuff, but soon as just before moving down here is when I really was like, okay, we got to be making sure that we sending a message and stuff, and to find some DJs that, some of those, how do I put this? Some of those DJs that understand that they be overboard with it. And y'all had such a perfect balance where it was like, okay, yeah, we playing some stuff that's gonna make you think, but we also partying at the same time. And it was so, what I'm saying? It was just like, that balance, straight up. Like that balance is so important, and the two of y'all like being able to, and both of y'all did it. That's what was amazing about it. Like, I knew with DCas, like, oh, we about to turn up. Like, it's 4 o'clock, but like, okay, I know. But with Yogi, it's like, hey, I'm turning up too, but I'm thinking about, like, all right, so what my people gonna do to get up out of like, how we gonna get up out of this struggle, But I'm dancing to it. So like, y'all two were, man, y'all are amazing brothers. Like, y'all don't even, oh my gosh. I like you say, Yogi, I needed y'all at that moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I was right before meeting you guys, I was working at Visions, and Frank Ski was working there. Frank Ski and DJ Kimmy. So I had, I remember it was so funny. I was talking with Frank Ski and stuff, and I was telling him, I was like, yeah, I want to do radio stuff. So he was like, all right, bring me a resume next week. And I had it in my, in my apron. So I like whipped it out of my apron and stuff. And it was so funny because he ended up giving me like an extra $40 or $60. Like, hey, I like that. But I was on my way into really pursuing commercial radio, but I knew I didn't want to do that. Like I knew, yeah, I could do it, but every week I'm gonna be arguing with them like, do y'all realize telling us to shake it like a salt shaker gonna have our babies out here tricking and do, you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't want to be in there fighting with them people every day. So you know what I'm saying? So to be able to get exactly what I wanted to do, and it was already going, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, shoo, I love y'all brothers. Y'all don't even know.
I'm telling you, the tissues are gonna come out. The tissues are gonna come out. I know
Right?
we're doing a podcast. I need one more hour with you guys. I just need one more
I'm here.
hour because this is like almost 20 years. You know what I mean? And like you all bringing so much memories back to me. It was just like a lot of memorable moments that took place on the show. But I want to say this to Dia's point, because WRFG, and I keep reiterating this, that it has been a staple in the community in Atlanta and across the country, because it was that station where you need access to something that mainstream radio could not give you as a listening consumer. My question to everybody is this: was the show itself casual conversation? Was it set up to be anti-mainstream radio? Was it set up to be like that, or was it like, okay, we want to have this platform for everybody to come and be a part of the show, whether you are a part of mainstream radio or not?
Kaz?
I think for me, like I said before, it was set up to be welcoming, definitely welcoming to everybody. I wanted to maintain the format that WRFG had, you know, prior to me, but I also wanted to treat it as it was a commercial, commercial show.
Yeah.
Because and we talked about this numerous times. I wanted to take the show and go somewhere else with it. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, maybe V will hire me, maybe Hada hire me, maybe whatever. I always wanted to do that. That never happened. But but I wanted, like, it's funny. I think Yogi may remember this, and I don't know if you were there or not, Rashawn. But we were doing the show, and we get a call. The crazy thing is, we get a call, and a red light comes on in the station when somebody's outside or whatever, or they calling in. So we get a call, and we were playing a song or whatever, and Killer Mike was at the front door. Mm-hmm. Right now,
yeah,
he just shows up. Like, it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. He just shows up. Like, I'd never met Killer Mike before in my life. You know what I'm saying? He just shows up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? Where you gonna do that at?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But he came in and he dropped knowledge. He stayed the whole show, I believe. It wasn't a show, but it was intended to be welcoming. It was intended, the biggest thing was the music. Like, I wanted to make sure we had good music. And so when Yogi came and kept asking me, you can play whatever you want, Yogi really drove the playlist. Yogi really drove our programming in terms of the music. You know what I'm saying? Right. I attached on to what he was doing, because he introduced me to stuff I didn't even know. You know what I mean? I tried to act like I did, but I didn't.
Yeah. I always just try to keep it like underground, but not too underground and not too like cyber sounding or weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, I try to keep it with enough tempo to it. That was always my goal. Like, my whole goal when I was like putting the show together for the mixers, there was always like, what would an underground boom bap type show sound on commercial? How it would sound on commercial radio? And like, so that's why you get like like some Shabam Sadiq and Talib Kweli, but you get like some Lauryn Hill and
CeeLo.
Yeah, some CeeLo and stuff like that, and some Busta and all that kind of stuff. So that's how I always like envisioned radio when I would mix for casual conversation. And whenever I always mix, I always try to do it like that. So it's like, you're like, oh, okay, I know that record. Who's that? But I know this next record. Who's that?
Right.
That's dope.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yogi did a great job with that. I mean, his curation of the music was like something that I had never seen before. I never heard before. So I was just happy to be a part of that, because like what he did was he enlightened me on certain songs or whatever, and then he enlightened the audience, and people would call up, oh, yo, who's that you just played or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So look, yeah, his programming of the show musically was
Yo,
Yeah, and
Kaz, you remember how often Dinko D used to hang out with us?
oh my God, Dinko used to come in there all
like,
the time.
like every night.
Like
Leaders of the new school, y'all. If y'all don't know,
I love
Dinko D.
leaders of the new school.
Yeah,
Yes.
Dinko D, leaders of the new school. He used to hang out with her, just hang out in the studio.
he would be there all the time. I'm like, nigga, are you part of the show now? Is it? But
Y'all know what's so crazy? Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I can't remember if it was when we were doing the show or when we continued on. And big shout out to all of the DJs and the brothers and sisters that joined the show, you know, once you guys left. So big shout out real quick to DJ Felix and DJ Majestic and DJ AC, you know, and there's some more people I can't even remember. But the one day I remember leaving out of the station and this girl came up. I remember we had just gotten out of a conversation piece. So again, I can't remember if it was, do y'all remember the day it was a sister came up and she was just like bawling, crying, talking about how she was about to commit suicide, but she was listening to the show and like, yeah.
I don't remember that.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it must have been right after you all left because, you know, we did continue on that conversation topic. Like, oh yeah, we had to keep the conversation topic going. But yeah, we were walking out and she walked up and she was just crying and stuff. And she was like, and what's so crazy, I want to say this happened like 2 times. You know, we had people come up like, yo, I was just listening to y'all talk. And this girl, I mean, she was really like on some, I was about to kill myself today. Like, I really plan on killing myself today. And like, just hearing young people talk the way y'all were talking and stuff, you know, so like, just know that we've been saving lives out here.
Yeah. I mean, we had also the large percentage of the prison community used to listen to us as well.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. You know, they made me understand how real it was when they sent in donations during our pledge drive. I'm like, they locked up and sending in money to our station, but you know, and that made me get a little harder on our local artists and stuff that we support so much. I'm like, look, these brothers and sisters locked up and they done made sure that they had their family send you know, a donation into the station. Like, that really showed me just how real it was, like down at RFG, and that what we were doing, you know, like that really mattered to people.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm so glad that the show itself, Casual Conversations, did what it did, because it wasn't just only a radio show. It was an event. It was a initiative. It was part of the culture where we're not just only here to entertain you, but we are also here to inform you on what's going on in the community. And, you know, for us to be on a platform and on the Rough, Rugged, and Raw program, and I want to make sure that we mention that, because the Rough, Rugged, and Raw program, it was a eclectic lineup of shows, and Casual Conversations, I feel like it really stood out from the other shows, not knocking all the other shows that were on Rough, Rugged, and Raw at the time, but Casual Conversations, I felt like it was ahead of its time. It was. It was definitely ahead of its time, just for what we contributed to the radio community and to the listeners. And I'm glad we're in the second hour of the Beat Break Morning Show as we're doing the Uncensored Casual Conversations reunion. DJ DCas, Miss Dia, DJ Yogi, Brotha Rashawn, Sean Garvey. Did you all guys know, and this is a question for everybody, did you all know that the show was going to take off the way that it did? I mean, for Killer Mike just to pop up, and for the young lady that Miss Dia mentioned who called in and wanted to commit suicide, like, did you all know ahead of time that the show was going to pop off the way that it did?
Well, I'll speak for myself. No, I didn't. I had no clue that it was going to be, what it was. But I think once you get into a groove, and I think we had gotten into a groove on a regular basis, and with the music and our little segments and our time to shines and our conversation piece.
Yeah.
Once you get into that and you're like, I remember so many shows where I'm like, yo, that's how we're supposed to do it. That's how we're supposed to do it. We sound like we're commercial radio, but we're not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We sound like we can compete with everybody else. You know what I mean? I did notice this though. At one point, I noticed that we were getting some, and I guess you want to call it looks, but some, we were getting some feedback from people on commercial radio at one point.
I do remember.
So like I was hearing from the and I'm not saying I heard from him directly, but I was hearing from the Frank Ski morning shows and the Ryan Cameron shows and all of that. People in their camps that were actually listening to it because we were getting off we were getting ready to get off the air while they were getting ready to get on the air.
Yeah.
So I knew that we were doing something because we were getting their attention. It may not have been Ryan or Frank specifically contacting us, but I did hear from a lot of people that were on their show or that were in that camp.
I knew. Honestly, and that's why, like, I ain't trying to. I'll be honest with y'all. I was sick to my stomach when y'all left because I was like, man, we can do so much. Like, like I said, when I've just always been one of those people that do believe that, like, okay, if you're on your path and you make it known, like what it is that you want and stuff, my experience has been the Most High just somehow, all right here. And when you receive it, when I've received it and I knew that it was right for me, I always thought that the sky was the limit, with it. So when joining you guys, like, I totally believed that, like, it was going to take off as it did and that it could have continued to, what I'm saying? Like, so I thoroughly believed in what we did.
Yogi?
I loved it. I loved doing it. I hated that I had to leave, but I was the first one to leave. I had to go because the job that I was at finally made me full-time. And so I couldn't do the overnight. I used to work night shift, and that's how I was able to do the show. And then the job that I was working at Turner, they finally made me staff and they made me full-time. And then I had to start making some money. At the time, my mom was started getting sick. So I had to start making some money, like some money. And I've been taking care of my mom since that point. So it's been a blessing, like the decision that I had to make. I hated that I had to leave because I felt like, some friendships got a little bit fractured, especially like between me and Kaz. I felt like me and Kaz kind of got in the wind for a little while, man. And I'm glad that he and I we're better now. But when I left, I was going through a lot of stuff, dealing with a lot of stuff that I didn't know how to express. I was just dealing with it. It was just life was just coming at me super fast. And I wasn't really expressing it, but I had to do it. So that was kind of, that's part of why I left. That was like, and I had to make the money. I got the position, but like, I had to take care of my mom. Like,
yeah, for sure. Heck yeah.
Let me say this though, all you guys that went on to do other things and moved on, and all good things come in at some point. Don't get me wrong. However, I'm incredibly proud of all of y'all. Those who stayed at RFG, those who moved on and did other things. I ain't gonna lie, like I told my wife one day when I saw Brotha Rashawn post that he was working at AOK at the time, I was like, yo, I am so proud. I remember when he was reading the news on our show and he couldn't read the news. I was so proud of him.
Yeah, it's dope. Super dope.
Like, I was incredibly, like, you talk about tears. I swear to God, I never, I ain't gonna say never, but I had never been that proud of somebody because I knew where you started. You know what I'm saying? I knew when you used to show up at 2:00 in the morning off the bus or got a ride or whatever that. So I was incredibly proud of you, you know, for doing, and I am now. I am sincerely proud of you now because you're continuing doing what you're, you know, what you love to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? See, exactly. You know, and you know, for Miss Dia, everything that she done got, you know, stores in the mall and
Yeah.
you know, hosted,
Yeah.
you know, every, you know, and I don't even want to call it an underground, you know, circuit, but you know, hosted all of this stuff, you know, around the city, you know, incredibly
Cool.
proud of her.
That was impressive. Like,
Yeah.
how fast you just kind of like just got into the city. I was like, damn, that's impressive. You just got here. And it was event after event after event. You're like, dang, D is just doing it.
Right.
It was dope.
Thank y'all.
I tell people I gave her a name. You did. Y'all did that.
Y'all did that. Like a fool. I was on there calling my name by my, which y'all know what's so funny. When I was in college, I went by Diva D. And I just, you know, at that age, and I was, you know, seriously into I want to be extremely as Black and African and proud as I can. Like, I just didn't want to be called a diva. But I was sitting back, I said, my crazy butt was on the radio with my government name. And my government name is way too unique to be calling myself that. Like, they could have found me. I was giving them way too much information.
Yeah.
But yeah, but you know what, Brother Rashawn, let me tell you this. I love, okay, so when we continued on, you know, it was Brother Rashawn, myself, and then a couple different people. And there were so many times that, you know, I'm a young lady. I'm a little slick at the mouth and stuff. And Brother Rashawn so respectfully put me in my place so many times that, like, I don't even know, Brother Rashawn, if you understand how many times I left out of there. Like, I bet you I won't say that to him again. Like, like, I bet you I won't sleep on him again about
Really?
This is all new to me.
Yeah, no, for real.
I want to say this, because I had people from the station. I won't say their names, but I had people from the station a couple of years after I left the WRFG in 2007. They would ask me, "What happened to you? You was like that little girl on Family Matters that went up the stairs and never came back." Like, I left in 2007. I felt like I ran my course there at RFG. And a couple of months later, through a colleague of mine, I ended up getting a job at another radio station, but it was gospel radio. And it was me starting all over again because I needed to be groomed a lot more. And plus, it was in commercial radio. So, but but I missed being there for 4 years because, you know, I grew up on some hip hop, and I felt like the platform and the community that you all offered to me was a place for me to not only learn the fundamentals of radio, but to also expose me to different kinds of music. Like, I wasn't really into, to be honest with you, I wasn't really into conscious music, or if you want to label that, I wasn't really into, you know, the Talib Kweli's and the Pharoah Monches and a few other people that Kaz and Yogi played over the air. But leaving WRFG,
so play more Too Loud Crew for you. My bad, dog.
Hey, listen, if y'all played some Raheem the Dream and Kilo Ali,
we did.
I probably wasn't there that night or that morning when y'all played it. But see, I come from that world of the booty bass music, the Kilo Ali's and the Raheem the Dream. So I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for that other part of the world.
Hey, bang out a little bit more bankhead bounce for you. My bad.
Right?
A little bit more crunk. But but I think it was at the right time for my departure to venture off. Now, here's another thing, and this is my first time sharing this with you guys. I tried to go back to WRFG a couple of times, and I won't really go into too much detail about the whole backstory, but I was a little bit of a rebel at WRFG, and let me say why. When I first came to WRFG, and this is for those that want to know, WRFG has this class called the broadcasting class. And in order for you to host and produce your own radio show, you have to take this class. I forgot for how long it was, maybe like 3 to 6 months. And you get
it's a couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't be exaggerating.
Right, 3 to 6 months for my MBA.
All I know is that you had to be certified.
Yeah,
you had to be certified. And I felt like, well, why do I need to take the broadcasting class when I am already going to school and paying all this money to go to college to learn about media? That was my mindset at the time, believe it or not.
Yeah, the young rebel. That's it.
Because I took that class, and that's how I got on, honestly, to have your own. That's how I got on to have my own show or whatever. But look, the class it really wasn't that hard. It wasn't. But I think the reason why they said it because you got WRFG. It's more so not necessarily about broadcasting, but more so about understanding WRFG. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you needed to, and you knew it because you were there. But for you to go, it's like, yeah, I mean, I got a doctorate in such and such, and hey, I have you coming here and doing stuff with me, but that doesn't mean you took the class and became certified either. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's what it was, and because Yogi, you took the class, right?
Yeah, I took it. It took me a while to take it, but I finally took it. Yeah.
And then I know Ms. Dia took the class.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you made sure. You was like somebody else in here gonna get certified.
Right, because when I left, so when I left, here's the craziest thing. I always wanted to be in commercial radio, but again, I wanted to do commercial radio the way I wanted to do it, and that's very arrogant, because that's not how commercial radio works. But oddly enough, there was a female that was driving. She was in Macon. She was from Macon. Was on commercial radio in Macon. She actually was driving from Atlanta to Macon and accidentally tuned into our station. So, and we were actually on the air at the time. And so she left a message at WRFG the next morning for me. Hey, whoever the guy is hosting some show at 2:00 in the morning, I need him to call me. I'm like, okay, who is this? So I ended up calling, I'm like, okay, I don't know who this is. So I ended up calling the next day or next 2 days, whatever it was. And she's like, hey, I'm at, what was it? The WIBB in Macon. Hey, I wanted to know if you could come down and, you can do a show here. I was like, what? Like after 5 years? Hell yeah. What, you want me to come today? I'll be there in a couple of hours.
How long it takes to get there?
Like an hour. so that pushed me into that direction because I had been waiting on that opportunity for quite a while, but I did realize that my experience at WRFG prepared me for that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. My time there prepared me for that. So that was my reason for essentially leaving the Casual Conversation Show, because I had a paid gig, at another station, which was something that I'd always wanted to do. Now, let me be clear.
How long did that last?
I was there for about 3 years, 2 or 3 years. Yeah. But let me be clear about this. When you say you're looking for a paid gig, yeah, you ain't really getting paid. Like you getting paid, but you ain't making no money. So I spent more money in gas than I made there, on the air DJ and all that.
Oh wow!
So because they actually hired me to DJ to be the on air mixer, and I would do. I first started doing what was called a Spencer. It was a Saturday night mix show for 4 hours. That's where I first started. Then they put me on the morning show, and I was mixing at the morning show. But
you going down there?
Yeah, down there. I was going down there.
You were down there in the morning and then driving back and going to work?
Yep. Yeah, it was crazy. I told you I spent more in gas. But here's crazy. I'll tell y'all this because I don't care at this point because I ain't in the radio anymore. But it said because I was doing it for I ain't gonna say for free, but I was doing it and really not getting paid the first couple of weeks I was down there. So then the program director comes to me and said, "Hey, I really like what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? You sound good on the air. So here's what I'm gonna do. I usually pay them about $5.16 an hour. Okay, whatever minimum wage was at that time. And he was like, but I know you driving, so I'm gonna pay you $5.50 an hour." I was like, what?
That's insane.
So you were going out there for like $20?
Yes, I like literally. Like I need, like most of the time my checks would come. I don't know if y'all remember, like in like 08 or whatever, when gas was like $4-5 a gallon, or whatever. Around that time, that's when I was going down there. I was spending even enough. It was my checks wouldn't even put in the gas tank. You know what I'm saying? But I did that for a couple of years. I made a little more money. It wasn't a lot, but made a little more money, and then I was like, all right, I'm tired of driving down here. Enough is enough. And I was really kind of tired of commercial radio. I mean, after doing your own show the way you want to do it for so long, and then coming in and now you got to play exactly what they tell you to play, literally exactly what they tell you to play. So that freedom that Yogi had and I had for DJing and playing whatever we want, you do not have that. Trust me.
Yeah.
You do not have that.
Bro. You did it. That's dope.
I want to take a moment to talk about, speaking of music, I want to take a moment to talk about a very, very important segment that was also a part of Casual Conversations. Now, of course, we all know that the biggest phenomenon in the music industry, well, at least in my opinion, is versus Swiss Beats and Timbaland. And I can see Cash shaking his head because I think he knows where I'm going with this. But before versus was the Dream Battle.
Dream Battle.
Yes. Yeah. I just got one question before you expound on it, DJ DCas. I just got one question. Has Swiss Beats given you a check?
You know what's funny? I sat there and watched I don't know, like Drink Champs. Y'all watch Drink Champs? Anybody watch that? Yeah. Like that's one of my favorite shows, podcasts, whatever. So I was actually watching it early today with and he had Swiss Beats and Timbaland on there. And they were talking about how they came up with this. And the funny thing is I never even remembered that I did the Dream Battle. You know what I'm saying? I never even remembered that. And then but it did become such a staple in what we were doing. Because I said we had all those segments, in the show as if we were commercial radio, and I never. It wasn't until you just said that I was like, yeah, I do need to call Swiss and get a check because a Triller or Apple Music, somebody, because that is what we did. Like that's exactly what we did.
Yeah. Did anybody have like a favorite Dream Battle segment, like this person going up against this person?
I don't know because we did a lot. Like sometimes it was R&B stuff. Sometimes it was hip hop stuff. And I don't know if we ever did this one, but I think I talked to my wife about it once, and it almost broke our relationship up. We were talking about Outkast versus Tribe Called Quest.
Tough one.
And to this day we still have not resolved that issue. So
who you go with and who is she going with?
I mean, see, I don't know what y'all gonna say. I think I know what y'all gonna say, but I'm a Tribe Called Quest person.
Tribe good.
I don't want to take anything away from.
I knew he was gonna say Tribe.
I don't want to take anything away from Outkast. I know what they did for the culture. I know what they did for the South. I know what they did for hip hop. But they put their foot on the gas. They never let up. You know what I mean? But for me, just what Tribe brought to the whole genre of hip hop. The jazz, the production. I mean, like I look at if there was no Tribe, there'd probably be no Nas-Illmatic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. But yeah, that was my thing. I'm more.
But Dre 3000 did say that there wouldn't be an Outkast if it wasn't no Tribe. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Hey, and for the people watching, if y'all seeing this, excuse me for eating, but I have to make sure that I don't eat this is past my dinner time, so I just gotta, what I'm saying? Y'all have to excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, this is uncensored casual conversations. I'm over here drinking my Red Bull, so
right. I'll make sure I won't eat and talk at the same time, y'all. I hate that.
Red Bull, which was the unofficial sponsor of the Casual Conversation show.
Wasn't it?
Oh, Yogi, we got
some Red Bull.
About how Kaz used to get the cases of Red Bull.
Yes.
I think you jokingly had said it on the air, and then I think that's how it happened, right? And
no, what happened was I said, yo, we need to get, and this Red Bull was just coming out.
Right. They said the little cars with the can on the back.
Yeah. So what happened was I said, okay, yo, we need to get them to sponsor us or whatever. And I didn't know anything about sponsorship or whatever. Yeah. And I really didn't know the difference. You know what I mean? So I end up calling, I saw a guy at a gas station delivering Red Bull. And I said, hey, I literally walked up to him and said, hey, who do I need to get in contact with to get them to sponsor my radio show? And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm trying to get somebody to sponsor. I said, I drink Red Bull all the time. And number one, this shit is expensive. And so I'm trying to figure out. So he actually gave me his card. He didn't know nothing about nothing, but I ended up calling him and he gave me somebody else's number and he gave me somebody else's number. And I'm calling, leaving messages. And I'm like, all right, they ain't never called me back. And then next thing you know, like a couple of weeks later, this lady named Janet, I'm cool with Janet to this day. She called me and she said, oh, well, we don't really sponsor, but I can send you some Red Bull. I said, okay, cool. And literally, like a pallet of Red Bull shows up at my house.
You should have like 3 or 4 in your bag. You're like, hey, look, the studio always smell like Red Bull, like whatever that smell like medicine, like
orange, whatever it was. Yeah, like a pallet of Red Bull. And I had, and at the time they only had two flavors. They had the sugar-free and the regular. Or whatever. So I would like just give the sugar because I didn't want the sugar free. That was nasty to me. We got like cases of Red Bull. I had cases of Red Bull, and then as soon as I would run out, they'll send me another pallet of Red Bull. It would be stuck in my garage.
Call them up. I've been needing some.
Hey, man.
Hey, y'all know what?
Dia, go ahead.
Y'all know what's so funny? Whenever I talk about some of my favorite shows in radio. I have shows that, like some of the ones that were in Kalamazoo, but then I think one of my absolute favorite ones, y'all remember when that Brian Nichols incident happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that was without a doubt one of the best moments in radio, because to hear them brothers call and get on DCas the way DCas, you remember them getting on your head that day?
They did. They
got on. But aside from that, it was just such a great show. It was such a great show because you had people like that's what I love about RFG and what we're able to do down there and what we did down there. Is all you got to do is give the quick disclaimer and then y'all can really talk. And to know that we had a show where we were able to hear from that night, we heard from so many brothers that, truly felt like, hey, I feel this man, because typically when you talk about people losing lives and stuff, it's always like, dang, I feel sorry for, all the people. But we had so many brothers call in like, yo, like for me at this point, it's either I'm going to try to shoot my way up out of this courthouse because I don't want to go back to jail. And to have them be able to call and express that and just the conversation that we had that night, that was, oh my God.
It was good to hear another side. I mean, I'm an antagonistic person. So, that's why you know.
Lie about that.
He ain't care.
But here's the deal. Like I did it in terms of good conversation. I didn't do it in terms of, okay, let me see who I can make mad or nothing like that. Because and again, that was the whole conversation piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, if we all agree on the same thing, then it's not a conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, so I did it in terms of how much, feedback that I could get. And that, which I'm gonna ask you guys a question, because I don't know if you were actually on radio at the time, but how did that affect you guys? Since we had that whole Brian Niggas, that was a big situation. But when George Floyd happened, were you guys on the air at the time?
When did this happen?
It happened in May of last year.
No, I wasn't personally.
So y'all didn't get an opportunity to discuss that on air.
I don't recall, because during that time, this was right when we had to start figuring out how to do our shows from home.
Right.
So, we probably did, but I don't remember. I do remember it. We were on air up at RFG in the studio the day that they killed Troy Davis. And that was another night that was like, oh my gosh, that was a heavy show. It felt like what's the movie with the brother that was the radio personality, and he
Are you talking about Talk to Me?
Do It in the Bud.
Petey
Yeah,
Green?
him.
Yeah.
With Petey Green, that felt like one of those nights, like one of those Petey Green moments, because it was just heavy. His attorney ended up calling into the show. We didn't know that he was listening. Really? But his attorney ended up calling in. It was a heavy night. It was a real heavy night.
See, and I think that's the positive thing about RFG is like you guys can stop the music at any point.
Yeah.
You can open up the lines at any point. You don't have to stick to a format if you don't want to. And it's good because your audience knows, what I'm saying, what to expect. Like they knew the conversation piece was coming at 5:15. Yeah. They knew we were doing, Time to Shine. They knew we were doing the Dream Battle. They knew all of that. So that's a great thing. But when something happens, you don't have to get permission from your advertisers to stop the music. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can open up and have that discussion and be real and immediate with people.
Yeah.
So I think that was one of the things that I think, does make WRFG a great station. There's some things that make it, a little more challenging.
Yeah.
But it provided opportunity, provided clear communication that, we were very uncensored. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Very uncensored.
And RFG showed me that, like, because growing up in Detroit, we had our DJs are absolutely amazing, because a lot of our DJs, our radio DJs, like we have a lot of programs that do straight up dance, ghetto tech, house, bounce music, bass music, so the DJs, were awesome, but like our personalities and stuff up there, like there's a show growing up we used to listen to called Mason in the Morning, that when I listen to all of these syndicated shows that have come, I'm like, man, if syndication was popular when Mason was on, like his show would just be amazing. So I fell in love with radio a very long time ago, but WRFG showed me that I didn't love, and I say this with all due respect, I don't love radio as much as I love like us and our people. So being able to like be at a station that allowed me to put the people before politics and radio, it was like, because I have people all the time like, well, why you don't go commercial, or why you don't go, to one of the station stuff, and I'm like, no, because if something like that happened, I know me, like I want to be able to, hey, we need to talk today, y'all, we need, so like I love WRFG for that, because it really showed me how, like, now the radio part of it is great. I love radio, but I don't love it as much as I love making sure that I'm doing for the people what I think needs to be done.
Yeah. What I take away from WRFG, my time there, especially with you guys, was the conversation piece towards the end of the show, because we would do that at around 5 a.m. in the morning, right before the other morning shows came on, because the other morning shows on the other dial, they do their conversation pieces. But they did it in a way where it wasn't like ours. You know, we had to come off the fly with a particular topic before we really went into it. You know, some radio shows, they prepare the next day, they do show preps to discuss what they're going to talk about the next day. We had to come off the fly with whatever we wanted to talk about in the last hour of the program. And I think it helped me, it shaped me in the way where I know now to have intellectual conversations with people about a wide range of things, you know, from politics to just serious stuff, social issues, different things that are happening, current events, and so forth and so forth. You know, I'm thinking that I'm coming in and just helping you guys get artists on the air or playing music and things of that nature. But when the casual conversation piece came into place, I was like, oh, okay. So how am I going to respond to this particular topic? And I think that was around the time when I was more so quiet. I didn't really say too much during that last hour of the show. You know, mind you, I'm the youngest one in the room, and I'm learning so much as you guys engage with each other as well as with the listeners. But looking back at it, it really challenged me in how I have conversations with people. Now, one conversation, DCas, and I remember this like it was yesterday. We did do a topic on pornography. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Oh boy.
You would remember
like,
that
okay,
one, Brotha
now
Rashawn.
I got something to say about this.
You would remember that one.
You know, I think it's funny you say that because, you know, I always wanted everybody to be a part of the show. I didn't want nobody to sit back and not be a part of the show. You know what I'm saying? So when we cut the mic on, I wanted everybody to talk. I want everybody to say something. I want everybody to have a piece that they you know, that they owned. You know what I'm saying? You know, you're like, I mean, obviously, you know, Yogi owned the curation of the music, and he owned the programming, but you know, there was a lot, like when we started talking sports, that was Yogi's lane. You know what I mean? Yogi would talk sports, basketball in general. You know, I mean, but that's why I had Rashawn do the news. I'm like, yo, now I don't know if that was good or bad, but he did do the news. but I you know, like if you listen to other shows, like their producers and all of that, they don't really talk. Like you don't really hear them on the mic. You don't really get to know who you're dealing with. You know what I mean? I want everybody to know who was in that studio. I want everybody to know who was a part of this casual conversation show. You know what I mean? Because I didn't want it to be just me, because I didn't think it was just me. I would think it was all of us who made that show, not just me.
Yeah. I wanted us to have this reunion. I felt like it was very important to have one. Like we could have did this reunion 10 years from now, another 10 years from now. But lately, and just most recently, we have lost a lot of artists, a lot of great artists in the industry, from DMX, Black Rob, Shock G, even before them, Prodigy of Mobb Deep, Phife Dawg. The list goes on and on and on. These are artists that both DJ DCas and DJ Yogi played on the air. And I want to take it back for a moment, Miss Dia, because this happened on the night we were doing the show.
J Dilla.
Yeah. I was asleep. I was coming from class. And I went to bed. I went to sleep because I knew I had to get up in a couple of hours to go to the radio station with Miss Dia. And Dia called me, and it was a very sad tone that night. Dia told me that J Dilla passed. And I was like, what? Wow. Yeah.
But you know what, Yogi, you were there because you made me. Okay, so listen, coming from Detroit FM stations do not play Slum Village. They did not play Slum Village. The only time you hear Slum Village play is when one of the brothers passed, or like I happened to be home when Batian passed. So that weekend, because it was so much kind of controversy, or you know, people trying to figure out how he passed and stuff, they were like playing him, but just to kind of be messy almost, just to see, you know, like, okay, what's the word? Or, you know, we're gonna be able to be the first ones to say this and stuff. So they were playing some Slum Village, but after they found out how he passed away, it was no more Slum Village. So and the crazy part about it is our families grew up together. Like when my grandmother passed, my uncle went and moved with Dilla's and them family. Like our families are really tight, but we have never met. No, actually we did meet, but I wasn't familiar with Slum Village like that. So it was kind of like, okay, yeah, you know, hey, how y'all doing? All right, what's up, whatever. But I remember Yogi saying something, because like you said something that made me feel so like, oh my God, I am so not on my job. Because when I think we mentioned something about Dilla passing or JD passing, I was thinking Jermaine Dupri. Because I don't know if I knew until we got there, because I for whatever reason, I do remember Yogi giving me no, Dilla, like, you don't know who you know, almost like you don't know who Dilla is. But I remember after that, it was so funny, because I was like, oh no one will ever be able to look at this Detroit girl and say she don't know who Jay Dilla is. Like, but yeah, that was a tough night. And it's crazy because I remember, you know, we used to rap our recap of the show at the end of the show. So at the end of the show, we would say a quick little rap or whatever, like recapping the show. And I remember that was the first time I was ever able to freestyle, and it made sense, or I was able to get past 2 bars. And I was like, Dilla did that. Dilla did that for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, what about the night? What about the night, Dia, when we had Chris Kelly from Criss Cross in the studio?
So y'all know what's so funny? I don't know if I ever liked anybody as much as I liked Chris Kelly growing up. Like, I was oh my gosh, you couldn't tell me I wasn't gonna meet him and we were not gonna get married. And he came in and he was just as nice as he wanted to be. And I remember when I was telling him, I was like, man, I was so in love with you growing up and all this stuff. So I'm not thinking that meant when he walked out, he was gonna be like, I was like, but it was so funny. But you know, but that has been, you know, it's just been such a pleasure being down there, because we have been able to meet people that, like, oh goodness, you know, you played a big impact in my life and stuff. And you know what I always try to do? I try to make sure that artists that had some success, you know, like commercially and stuff, that when they came in there with us, that they didn't feel like, oh yeah, they were just doing some little show, or that they, you know, it was like, all right, now, you know, I just want to make them feel like, yeah, no, we're independent. We in this old school building, but like this is real. Like, you know what I'm saying? We are real people. We are real consumers. Our listeners are real people that buy your stuff, that come to your shows and all that stuff. And I think that's what, to me, WRFG has been. Like, I have always told anybody that work with us and stuff, I tell them, like, don't talk. And I mean, of course, we always got to be humble in the thing, just in life, but don't let people say, like, you know, people say, oh yeah, like, I'll come show y'all some love and come do an interview. And these are like independent artists. Like, you're not showing me love by coming down here. Like, you know what I'm saying? We 100,000.
I had one of those.
You know what I'm saying? You know how many times I've had to correct people on that? Like, no, man, like what we're doing, you know, although we don't get paid for it and stuff, but at the end of the day, y'all, what we're doing is so important. And what we have done has been so important to so many people. And you know, we may not get our flowers and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, like, I'm proud. I am so proud, and I don't act like what I'm doing is any less important than what anybody else or any of these other radio, you know, like, no, what we do is real, you know.
I agree.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Dia, and I know we're getting ready to wrap up in a few minutes, but
no.
I know. I'm be honest with you. I'm crying inside. The tears haven't even came down my eyes just yet, but I'm definitely crying inside. Has anybody? I gotta ask this question. Has anybody tried to shoot their shot with somebody at the station, or had like a crush?
Well, let me say this so that I don't make
Oh,
enemies of y'all.
here comes the,
Listen,
oh Lord.
I am a woman, okay? Okay, so I don't shoot shots. But you know what I'm saying? If all of the fellas ain't tried, I would think something would be wrong with them. So no, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I'm just
Shoot
joking.
the Josh, you got shot at.
I'm just joking.
No, I mean, seriously, because I felt like, okay, I've seen women come into the studio, and I was like, okay, you know, let me try to see if I can holler at her or whatever. There was this one sister. She used to work at the radio station. I think her name was Shyla, something like that.
Shy, yeah. I can't remember what she looked like, but I remember the name.
You remember the name? Shy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't really shoot my shot. I just kind of like looked at her and thought in my mind, like, hey, hello, how are you? My name is Brotha Rashawn. So yeah, I tried to, and Yogi knows that.
Oh yeah, on the remix show.
Yogi,
Yeah.
tell the story real quick.
I'm not gonna put you out that bad, but yeah, you got a lot of so you know, if y'all don't know, so I'm still on WRFG, but now I'm on Fridays. I replaced DJ Cisco on the remix, which was our like our rival show or our brother and sister show or whatever. So I joined that show and I've been there for like a couple years, and talking about shooting shots. Who were you hollering? Oh yes. Yeah, you kind of lost points on that one, man. Yeah. I'm not gonna say no names, but you lost some points on that one, man. But you shot the shot, so I can't be too mad at you because you at least tried.
Okay, all right. So
I can't be too mad at you.
Okay, so I called in on the remix show because Big D called me out on the radio, and it had something to do with the co-host at the time, and she's still on the show, Tiara. And it was something to the effect of, yeah, you know, you should holler at Brotha Rashawn or something like that, right? I you know, I'm just paraphrasing.
Oh boy.
And I heard the show. I guess they didn't think I was listening in to the show that night. And I heard the show. I was like, okay, this sounds like a challenge. So I called in, and I don't want to say I tried. I shot my shot. I shot my shot to Tiara live on the air. And I told her that I will give her a blender.
A what?
A blender?
A blender.
Yeah, see, Kaz in space.
Wait, I'm scared. I'm scared to ask where did this go. Okay, so you was gonna give her a blender to do what?
Oh,
It was just a gift to try. Hey,
It's no punchline. It's no like. It's no like, so you can mix our love up. And like, it's no nothing. It's just, I'm gonna give you a blender.
Yeah.
Brotha Rashawn, you gotta call me next time. You
gotta talk to Diaz.
This is like him reading the news. Like, I don't understand.
I don't understand. I'm so confused.
No. But
what
ended up happening, making a long story short, what ended up happening was we did meet at a location in Atlanta. It was a seafood spot, and I did come through with the blender. She accepted it. You know, we didn't really stay that long because she had to go out of town for vacation, and we were supposed
or so she said.
So she says.
According to Tiara. And
gotta get the date.
and I thought we was gonna, you know, go on a date or something. You know, and it never happened. It never went into fruition.
What's it called? What did Jay-Z say? You were hustling backwards.
You gave up the goods too soon.
So as of this point, you guys aren't. Do you guys still speak or no?
We communicate every once in a while.
Okay, so
like once a year.
Did you hear the blender in the background?
No, I didn't hear. I got my own blender, by the way, just a side note. But no, I didn't. I
think she's probably making drinks for somebody else right now.
Oh man.
I that was always in the back of my mind, Cass. I didn't want to think about it every day.
Like somebody got a smoothie right now because of you, Rashawn.
I'm glad you can laugh about this, man.
Oh my God. Oh man.
D's petty, so D was killing him for at least 2 years.
He is horrible.
He was
Look, and that's the
horrible.
worst
Killing
person
him.
to do something around. That's the worst person to do something around.
Oh yeah, don't do nothing like.
Well, I had a gentleman down at the station, try to shoot the shot. And it was crazy because I happened to, I ended up going down into the studio and he was saying stuff about like, yeah, like them boobs looking good or something, and I was like, yo, like, like, first of all,
before Me Too.
Right.
It was before Me Too, but I kept telling her, I was like, listen, you're gonna get so, like, you can't say that. You can't, and especially like I used to try to make sure I toned down like the girly a little bit while on the air because we were on so late. And, I have to be mindful that if, there are some people, like I've received some personal letters and stuff that like, there are some men that's listening to the show. And I've even had a woman I had to like, listen, slow that sugar honey iced tea down. But they listening late, and y'all know late night they might be feeling a little sexy and all that stuff. So I had to make sure that like, all right, like try to put in a little more bass in my voice, a little what up y'all, all that stuff, because
Right.
like, it's late night and I didn't want that. Like I never wanted that type of attention from people like that. Like, nah, I ain't here for that. So yeah, I definitely had to make sure I reeled in the sexy.
I got a confession. When I first met Miss Dia, and maybe like 1 or 2 shows into casual conversations, I was like, you know what? I think I got a little bit of a crush on Miss Dia.
Hey, listen.
Should have got our blender.
Damn it, I could have got me a blender. I'm flipping.
hey, now, look, nowadays, Rashawn, you got to get in my air fryer. You can't get into it.
Yeah.
Right, come with the air fryer, brother.
Oh,
that
man.
is real stuff. Oh, this has been so fun.
What can you all take away from this reunion and from the show?
Mm.
What do you all want to take away?
I'll start. I'll say that we have to make sure that we do connect, just a little more often, even if it's, and I've been saying this with some of my friends. I'm like, y'all, look, even if it's once every 6 months, let's get on the call. If we can't get together, like, let's just get on the call, because I had shared with our listeners, like just before COVID happened that year, I hadn't, for like almost a whole year, I may have been down to the station like once a month or something doing the show, because I had been grieving a lot. Like I had lost a lot of family. Like over these last like 5-6 years, like I just lost a lot of family, and I was grieving, and I didn't know how to, you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't think at first that like I needed, I'm like, well, it wasn't my mom or my daddy. So, who am I to be sad when people out here losing their mama, their daddy, their children and stuff like that? But the reality is it didn't matter. Like I lost a lot of people that I loved. So, so I hadn't been doing the show and everything. So now I just want to make sure that like, that we are not just, living in the past in our head and stuff, but that we are also making new memories and stuff. So like I think that, and I put this out on the table, I think at least once a year we need to like do something. We are like Yogi said, he's still on the show. I'm still on RFG. Brotha Rashawn, you got your show. I would love to do an annual or twice a year. We do a show where we do it just like we used to. Like, all right, fellas, y'all DJ. We all, like I just want to continue making memories and living in this moment. So that's pretty much it for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yogi?
I welcome that.
Mm-hmm.
What's that? Oh, me, just,
Yeah.
man, what I learned or what I've taken away from the show is just keep doing what we've been doing, man. Like, just make sure you just keep trying to to do the things that you love. I really love DJing, and I just want to just make sure. I always try to make sure I keep doing that. I love the fact that I'm hearing from y'all, and I love seeing y'all. It's always a pleasure, man. It's always like it always kind of just, I just get perked up and happy when I see my folk, man. So more than anything, that's about it. That's what I'm taking from this. I really enjoy it. Like me and Kaz have always had some great conversations. Dia, whenever I see you at the club, we always have some strong conversations. Rashawn, we've had our fair share of conversations, and especially like whenever I see you kind of in different ways, kind of dealing with whatever you're dealing with. I like that. I like being able to have people where we can kind of where we know where we meet. You know what I'm saying? Kaz and I, we have our thing where he calls me as much as I like. We don't talk about much of anything else, but when he calls me, like I appreciate that. He's like, "Yo, I need some advice on this." I'd be like, "All right, no doubt. Let's run through it." And then Dia, when we talk, last time we talked, you was telling me about one of my crazy Haitian brothers.
Lord, let me tell you something. I'm serious. Yogi, you probably the only Haitian friend I keep after him. I said, I don't even want to be friends with one. Hey, Yogi, listen. No, seriously. Oh my gosh, you just don't even know. Hey, but listen, before we get out of here, because I meant to ask you this earlier. What is the documentary that you did?
Oh, okay. So I work at Turner. I am the lead editor on was the lead editor on Inside Story, which is a 4-part documentary on the history of Inside the NBA on TNT, which is an award-winning. It just went into the Hall of Fame, the Basketball Hall of Fame. Multiple Emmys, this, that, and the other. I won a few myself, and so yeah, it went on HBO Max like in late March, early May, or early April, something like that. It's going to actually re-air during the conference finals, the Eastern Conference Finals on TNT. Like I video edit for those who don't know. I video edit for a living, and this is like the longest project I've ever worked. I worked on it for like 2 years, and man, I basically like cut like 4 movies or 2 movies because I cut 2 episodes, and then Leroy LJ cut the other 2, and it was a journey. Like it's the hardest, the most fun, most fulfilling, and I don't think I haven't even seen because of COVID and everything. I'm pretty sure a lot of people keep telling me. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but a lot of people keep telling me like clear my mantle, like this is award winning. I'm like, okay,
sweet.
So,
I'm about to go watch it.
Yeah, it's called The Inside Story on HBO Max.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like when I like when you explain to my mom, when I explain to my mom like this is what I've done, and she still doesn't really. She's still like, so what did you do? Did you meet these people? I'm like, nah, I put it all together. She's like, so were you at all? And but anyhow, so that's what I do. That's the documentaries on HBO Max.
Nice.
And yeah,
I'm definitely gonna check it out after the end of this podcast. I want to save myself for last, but Cass, same question to you. Of course, what do you want to take away from the reunion and from the show? It's on you.
Well, for me, again, I am incredibly proud of each and every one of you guys, as I said before, and I can't say enough about what we did. Our period of time. It's kind of like a VH1, behind the music type of thing, man. Incredibly proud of you guys and what you guys. I know all of us kind of, started to branch off and do different things or whatever. But I just this conversation, brings back the memories of every, again, 2:00 in the morning to 6:00 in the morning on we called it a Twins Day, right?
Yeah, Twins Day.
Twins Day, yeah.
Twins Day was a Twins Day. We had our own day. We called it for 4 hours, but that for me it just brings back some extreme memories on like the time that I really, really loved being in radio. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even when I moved to commercial radio, it was good. Don't get me wrong. I learned a lot, but it was not what we did on the Casual Conversation Show. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't. And, you know, we had autonomy, we had good music, we had great personalities, we had, you know, we could talk about anything, you know, and I think that that's nostalgia. I don't think, even when I listen to shows nowadays, I don't think people have what we had, you know, or have it in the same way. You know what I'm saying? So you know, and some things, and to be very honest with you, some things just can't be duplicated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. But look, I you know, what I've done, just so you guys know what I do currently, and I think, you know, Ms. Dia seen me do it. You know, I know Yogi seen me, and we've talked several times about. But you know, I still DJ, of course. I'm never going to stop DJing. But I kind of moved into a more of a production role as well. So we produce, you know, my company that I own, we produce concerts, festivals, corporate events, things of that nature, and, you know, and tours. And so, you know, obviously, you know, over the past 13 months or whatever, that has not been happening. But I started doing stuff at my studio or office, which we kind of turned part of it into a studio now. That's why, you know, I reach out to Yogi for advice on some of the things that I know he knows how to do. But we have a studio that, you know, people could do videography and photography and things of that nature. And we're slowly but sure getting back to live events. So, you know, I mean, I got, I don't know, about 3 or 4 tours that I've been asked to do, starting in August or whatever. I mean, you know, these are bigger tours. And, you know, one of my biggest things that I have coming up, which I am proud to say, is next year we are producing the opening and closing ceremony of the World Games.
Come on in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is something that we've been, you know, looking forward to. And it was actually supposed to be this year, but because the Olympics got pushed back, the World Games got pushed back. So, which I'm kind of glad it did, because I don't even know we were ready for it. Because we kind of, like, when COVID happened, it just kind of shut everything down. Like, we didn't know what to do. Nobody knew what to do. So, so it gives us a whole nother year to kind of prepare for it. But yeah, so that's one of the things that we're doing. So it'll be very, very similar to the opening ceremony of the Olympics, closing ceremony of the Olympics. So imagine something on that scale. This is the biggest thing I've ever worked on in my life. So, you know, to produce something like that is huge, you know. But so I'll let you guys know how that may, and feel free to come down, because it's going to be live, and it's going to be in Birmingham, Alabama. So we're looking at, and I'll say this to you, I'll give you a little secret, and that nobody knows. So this is live on the Beat Break Morning Show that nobody ever knows. That will hopefully will happen, which we're working on. And I'm saying this because Ms. D is on the line. But one of the artists that we are scheduled to perform with us is Stevie Wonder.
Oh, wow.
Oh. Hey, listen. So DCas, seriously, this no boy. Before you even said that, I was about to say, look, if you need to add in, you know what I'm saying, any extra workers and stuff, make sure you call us. Listen, put me down. I need to be working with you that night, because I need to see Uncle Stevie. I'm serious. But no, even without, aside from that, like for real, if you need any extra help or so, you know what I'm saying, get a sister trained up in something.
You know what I would love to do, guys? I mean, this is no nonsense either, man. I want to do 1 or 2 things. Number one, I would love for you guys to come up to my studio, to my office, you know, and, you know, so you guys can really, really see what I do, because it's totally different than what I was doing. But I also like to, you know, whenever somebody's available or y'all available, man, just take you guys out to lunch, or take you guys to dinner for have a drink or 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I'm always hungry.
Rashawn, you old enough to drink yet?
I'm down. I can drink now. I'm
okay.
legal to drink now. You know,
Remember we used to do David Buster's, but Rashawn couldn't get in because he wasn't old enough.
Yes. I had to get papers from Wanique. Yeah, but great times at David Buster's. Great times. Last but not least, I want to say this. You guys have really, really saved my life.
Mm.
And I'm serious. I'm no joking. All jokes aside, you all have really saved my life. Coming from Atlanta, you are, or the part of Atlanta, you are only limited to just being either a rapper, a ball player, or working in law enforcement or doing other jobs outside of media. And as I was growing up in radio, I didn't know if I was going to last in radio or not. It was just something that I always wanted to do. Actually, before that, I wanted to do acting and I wanted to be a detective. I wanted to do all these things, but it was just that part of media at the time that was calling me. But also at the same time, like I said, I was a struggling college student and I was only limited to doing certain things. And, at the time, coming out of being in the wrong crowd, I could have instantly gone into a different direction in my life to where I wouldn't be where I'm at. And, I wouldn't be at other stations that came to me after WRFG, like WABE 90.1 FM, and then of course WALK later on after that. And I just think about what my life would have been if WRFG didn't open the doors for me, and if DCas did not answer that call when I called in. And you don't meet too many.
Oh, we love you, man. Oh, I just want
you don't meet too many people like DCas in the industry. You don't meet. It's like you got a lot of industry people that will tell you one thing, and they will tell you, come to the studio, we'll talk or whatever. And then the next day you come to the studio and they act like they don't know you. Or they see a young brother and they think, oh, well, he don't look like the type to be on the air or in front of the scenes. He doesn't have what it takes. And a lot of us get underestimated because of our background, or we didn't go to this type of school or what have you. But DJ DCas took a chance on me. And even though I was amateur, I wasn't polished at the time, what he looked for in me was potential, and the fact that I came down to the studio every single time. There were only maybe just 2 nights that I missed, but throughout the remainder of my time there, I came in there ready for game time. Whether I was making a mistake or not, I stayed there. I didn't give up. And being at 89.3 FM, I can never take for granted. You have people that come from community radio and they forget where they came from. And it's very important that you don't forget where you came from, because if it wasn't for this platform, you would not be where you at today. And that's why I like when Gerald and when Yogi invite me to the anniversary, and talking to Yogi off air about my mental health, because I've been going through that for a few months now, and keeping in contact with Miss Dia. Like I look at Miss Dia as my sister. Like she's my first radio sister. I have other sisters in radio. I have other sisters in radio, but Miss Dia is actually my first radio sister. And DJ DCas taking a chance on me. He didn't know me. I didn't have any affiliation with anybody that knew DJ DCas, but for him to take a chance on me compared to other people in radio, it really speaks volume. But I'm sorry, guys, if I'm tearing up a little bit. I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you a million times from the bottom of my heart. It didn't start at WLK, it didn't start at WAB and all the other stations that I were at. It started at RFG, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's all about, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being a part. Thank you for your time and your effort, and what we allowed, what you allowed us to help you with. I think that again, we were learning too. So it was great, man. I wouldn't take anything away from what we did, and And I told you, you know, the first thing that I needed you to do was show up, and you did. You know, and no matter who said what, I'm like, yeah, I'm not getting rid of Rashawn.
Yeah.
He shows up. Everybody else that wanted to come in and wanted to say, oh, I could do this better than him, I could do this or whatever, but you can't show up.
You ain't show up. Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
That's half the battle. That's 90% of the battle, man. Just show up.
We went through a lot of people. We, you know, this is the core crew, but we went through some other people. You know what I mean? There was some other people that wanted to show that, you know, yeah, they may say this or may do that or may have brought X to the table, but at the end of the day, they didn't show up every week. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that was for us, that was, you know, 95% of the battle, if you will.
Yeah.
You can't get up.
And it's not saying it in like as a consolation prize either, Rashawn. It's saying it like you were diligent, like you were resilient.
Right.
You were tough as nails to be coming in on a Tuesday night. I didn't know who the heck you were. I was just like, yo, this kid gets dropped off. I'm like, this is crazy. That's all I kept. It's like, yo, and I used to be like, Cass, yo, this kid gets dropped off. I don't know how the hell he gets home. He just shows up. It's crazy. It's like, you're here, but it's crazy. I'll take it.
And that's what I said. I said, I'm never get rid of him. I'm not gonna get rid of him. He shows up.
And keep that spirit, man. Keep that spirit. I mean, you're gonna beat a lot of people out that way, man. Just keep showing up.
Thank you.
Keep knocking on them doors, man. You'll get to wherever you want to be.
And I'm incredibly proud of what you've built too, man. You know, you know, like what you're doing with this show and every other, you know, media outlet that you're affiliated with. You know, and you know, it's funny because I saw you interview one of my favorite DJs, DJ B. I saw you interview him one time, and I was like, you know, and I'm like, I listen to his station all the time, but like literally, it's funny when we talk about not you know, radio dying. That's what I listen to. Like, I don't even listen to regular radio because I tune in to Fresh Radio every day.
Yeah, Fresh Radio, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Every day. But when I heard you interview him, like in the back of my mind, I'm sitting here like, damn. I was like, yo, you know, he used to come to me, like he used to be on my show. Like, you know, and now he's interviewing other people. You know what I'm saying? So I was incredibly proud of you. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk about a tit? That's what I was doing at the moment. I was like, yo, he's doing what he loves. And anytime I see somebody doing, like with Miss Deer, anytime I see somebody doing what they love, you know, it's hard because a lot of times you don't get the praise, you don't get, especially financially, you don't get what you deserve from that.
Right.
The time and effort that you put into it. You know what I mean? But when I love it, I love that you guys have continued to doing what you love. And I knew Yogi was the editor to the stars. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't even know that much about editing until I actually needed him to edit some shit for me. You know what I'm saying? But you know, and to see where he is with Turner and all of that, man, that's, again, I'm incredibly proud of all three of you guys and what you guys have accomplished and following your dreams and following, you know, your passion, because we don't always get praised for our passion. We don't always get the result that we deserve for following our passion and doing what we need to do. You know what I mean? So thank you guys for continue to do that. I mean, you're an inspiration to me, you know, because, you know, my last 12 months, I produced live concerts. Yeah, that ain't been happening in the past 12 months.
Yeah.
So when I see you guys continually doing it, especially with Sean, you know, and he's found that medium to continue to do what he loves and do it his way. You know what I mean? I'm incredibly proud of you, and I want to thank you all and say continue on doing what you're doing.
Thank you, and I'm glad to know that we are all producers and that we are creators. We're not just only on-air talent, but we are all creators and producers as well. Because not only that I am still with WLK News and Talk, which is the sister station for those that don't know, the sister station to B103 in Atlanta, but I also work at Encompass Digital Media, where I'm one of the people behind the scenes airing sports games for Valley Sports and Fox Sports, by the way. So I want to make sure that people know that I do a little bit of behind the scenes work as well too for those and then Sinclair Broadcasting Group as well. So
Okay.
I dibble and dabble. And also speaking of announcements, it is getting ready to happen. I am going to soon release my first scripted podcast series called Unemployment Check. So we've been promoting that a little bit on social media.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah. Well, so
you got tons of content there.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. So yeah, so I'm working on that and just a few other projects behind the scene. But right now it's all about Reach One Network and this platform, Beat Break, and having a home. And let me also say this in closing as well too. There would not be a Beat Break Radio or a Reach One Network if there wasn't a WRFG or a Casual Conversations. And the reason why I said that, and it goes back to what I stated earlier about Casual Conversations being ahead of its time. It was like a podcast. Mm-hmm. It was like a podcast before all of the podcasts, before podcasts started becoming more and more popular. And so now you got all these podcast entities like my network, where it's not just only this show, the Beat Break Morning Show, but it also houses other shows and other podcasts as well too. We really set the tone for podcasters and for other programming online to come in and say whatever they want to say without the FCC or without a program director or a general manager coming in and telling us, oh, you can't say this, you can't say that, you can't play this, you can't play that. I mean, we got to give credit when credit is due, and I give all the credit to this show right here, Casual Conversations and WRFG 89.3 FM. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. So I know everybody hungry. Dia.
I finished my dinner.
You already good. You already good. Where can people follow you and how can people check out the show?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Pretty Dope Dia. That's Pretty Dope, and then Dia spelled like Detroit is order or but DIA. The show airs Wednesday night going into Thursday morning. So we're on during the night watch program now from midnight until 3 a.m. We're always still, especially now, we're still looking for, DJs, any people that want to produce segments and stuff. I've always kept that door open, for people. So if anyone's interested in joining us, please email us at the show atlradio@gmail.com. And then, so follow me on all the social media platforms. I do have a book that I've been working on forever, but I do have a book that is going to be released before the end of this year. So I'm excited about that. And I hope that, great things. I hope I can get Yogi to do one of my videos or two of my videos, and DCas to produce, my book side and all that stuff. And Brotha Rashawn to host it. Yes,
it's already done. Well, we got you, and we're gonna support you all the way.
Thank you, brothers.
Yeah, and please support the show and the station. Of course, the show ATL with Hollywood Kid. It's an excellent show. I listen to it. I don't only just watch it on Instagram, but I listen to the radio show as well too. So you all keep doing your thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, Yogi.
Just hit me on Twitter and Instagram. I am DJ Yogi, like the bear. And then in my bio on my Instagram page, you can go to my Mixcloud page and to catch the archive of all the mixes and all the shows that I've done for WRFG, especially over these past 2 or 3 years. And then the other things other mixes and shows that I've done for other stations that I get down with occasionally. And then if you want to see just some of the work that I work on the edit side, go to yoables.com, which is yoables.com. And you can see some of the edit work that I've worked on. And that's it, man.
Now, congratulations to you, Yogi. You deserve everything that you get. The HBO Max, like I said, I'm going to watch that series.
It's like 4+ hours. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm about to go watch it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
DJ DJ DCas, man. Before we get into your social media handles, did you record all of the shows? Do you have all of the shows saved in your inventory or in?
So the funny you say that, because my wife was cleaning out the garage last week or whatever, and there's a box of tapes.
More things. Oh wow.
like I don't know, it's probably about 100 or so tapes or whatever in there that I have with the show on it, and she had put it to be thrown out. I'm like, wait, no, we can't do that. So they're sitting in my garage now, and she's waiting to get rid of them, and I'm like, no. So I got to take them to my office before she puts it out on the curb or whatever. But yeah, I do have a lot of the shows left.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some, but I don't have.
Yeah, don't mention that. I had a tough, and I like I said, I've been transparent about it. Like right before COVID hit, that year prior was the toughest of all years I've ever experienced. And the crazy part about it is, at the time, I was going through it thinking that, like, why is all this happening to me? But I do realize now that I feel like the creator was getting me out of certain situations because we were going into this type of lifestyle. And, like, even with the store, like, we had closed the store down. I had ended up putting all of my recordings someplace, and I no longer have them. And when I tell y'all, that broke my heart more than anything, because I'm like, that was a good 10 years of my life that, like, now is like, oh, it's just gone, So right now I'm very, very strict on making sure that, like, I have multiple, like, put it up in the clouds, put it here, put it there, because I'm like, all of those memories and all of those recordings are just gone now. So, like, I hate you brought that up. Now my tears about to come, Rashawn. Shit.
So I guess I guess it's the wrong time for me to say. Well, I have
my social media. Hold on, my social media.
Social media DCas.
No, you guys can. I'll be honest with you. I'm not huge on social media like that, but my Instagram is DJD_CAS, or you can hit me on Facebook. Just search DJ DCas, and or DCas D_CAS on Facebook. And check out some of the events that we do are at Centric. My company is called Centric Productions, and so just centricproductions.net is our website, so you can see everything we do. And we also have a lot of stuff on Facebook as well. So and then I still have my DJ company, which is Connections DJs, and but most everything has been transferred over to Centric Productions. So
absolutely. I'm blessed and highly favored that we did this.
Yes.
I thought Miss D was gonna beat me to it. I was like, hey.
And I promise, listen, this is my right hand up. I promise I have been thinking about doing it and stuff, but I just, I've been putting everything off and stuff. So don't worry, because I'm gonna just do it after you, and we're gonna do it again. Yeah. Well, thank you for doing this, and thank you for following through, because that's another thing. That's the follow through is everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, of course, follow me all social media, Sean Garvey ATL, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Sean Garvey, and at Beat Break Radio on all your social media. It's the Beat Break Morning Show. Oh, scratch that. It's the uncensored casual conversations reunion.
Yes.
Thanks,
WRFG 89.
Yes, I raise my glass to you, brothers.
Salute.
Hey, don't leave. Don't leave real quick though. I got to get a picture of us.
All right. Go for it.
Oh, okay. So, Brother Sean, I need you to do something. Could you like X out your camera on? Stop video on one of them.
Yeah.
Let's see. If that.
Give me 1 second.
Because it'll bring
on that